Hey, Goben here. It's finally time to check out Grace, and by that I mean today we'll be looking at how to play her optimally, how to build her properly, and all things teams. She is a very fast-paced and high-damage unit, coming in field to spam out shocks, weaving in abilities with ease, and swapping back out whilst letting her anomaly damage destroy enemies. So if this video helped, like and sub and share to help me out, and let's begin. Grace is an electric anomaly unit, one of our only two anomalies as of 1.0. She has a decently high base attack of 826, and she scales on Anomaly Mastery, which is the stat that increases how fast you apply your element's anomaly. She's the only unit that does this so far, giving her an insane base AM of 151 at level 60, which is already a 1.5 times multiplier to her elemental application speed. On the UI when playing Grace, you'll see 8 things in the top left. I think they're grenades. These are in fact her Zap Stacks linked to her core passive. When basic attacking or dash attacking and hitting an enemy with physical damage, you will gain 1 stack of Zap. Since she shoots her gun like a pro and has a wide spread of bullets per attack, this means her attacks can accumulate multiple stacks of Zap in one move. Anyway, when you reach 8 stacks, you'll get a nice visual indicator top left, but also on her grenade stash on her belt. And then, her next special or EX special, either work, will have their anomaly build-up increased by a large percentage. This is another separate multiplier to how fast you apply anomaly, and at a level 7 core passive, this will increase the build-up by over double. So you bet we'll want to maximize this, and we will see how to in a bit. So onto her basic attack string. She has a 4 attack string, a left to right bullet spray, then the opposite, then a cool spin and kneel where she throws a grenade, and then a fancy mid-air spin. This third attack's grenade does do electric damage and also applies a slight amount of anomaly. You can input movement whilst using basic attacks just like Zhu Wen, and she will perform special moving attacks slightly different to our normal dash attacks. And finally, her basic combo will not be interrupted by specials, EX specials, dodges, dash attacks, or even dodge counters. This makes her very fluid in combat and very satisfying to use. You can do your full combo without having enemies smack you around and resetting everything. So let's see, just like with Zhu Yuan, how inputting movements during basic attacks can change Grace's basic string. Basic 1, moving basic, basic, just weaves in a moving basic, and so it adds another attack in between basics 1 and 2. Basic 2, moving basic, and then basic does the same, so you get an extra attack again in between the two. And basic 3 into moving basic does the exact same. So unfortunately, unlike Zhu Yuan, we don't get any fancy basic skipping combos or anything, but if I did miss something, please let me know. However, we will still use these later on to our advantage. Now her special throws out a grenade, applying a small amount of anomaly. Her EX applies 2 times the amount as well as throwing out 2 grenades, in total applying about 4 times the amount of anomaly as a normal special. But since her combo is very quick, and her core passive still buffs the anomaly application of the normal specials, we can use them just fine, unlike most units. The damage and days of her normal special are much lower naturally, but for an anomaly unit, that's a-okay. One thing I love about the EX specials that you might miss is that because they have 2 grenades, they won't be that wasted for anomaly application. If a move has a separate multiplier value, from what I can tell, it can continuously apply anomaly. There is still the 3-second ICD though. So although this enemy is nearly shocked, throwing my EX shocks them and still reapplies some electric anomaly. This is unlike Piper's big slam dunk that is one final MV and cannot have any excess anomaly application. So these special attacks are very quick and can also be used to maneuver when using them. So you can go forwards, backwards, sideways, all during the specials, allowing you to get closer to the enemy. This is important because you can actually miss shots on your basic strings when you're too far away. And so because of all this, and the fact that we won't interrupt her basic attack combo, we can now weave in specials into her basic string. This all meshes in together to create her first combo. So her basic 1 and 2 generate 3 stacks of Zap each. Her basic 3 generates 5 stacks. Her movement basics and her dash attacks generate 3 each. And her final basic, basic 4, generates a whole 8 stacks alone. And remember, we want to hit 8 for the core passive. Since basic 4 does this alone, the main focus of Grace's combos is to generate at least 8 stacks of Zap before her final basic attack, maybe even 16 with a super saucy combo. Her most generic and easy combo will thus be basic 1, 2, 3, special or EX, basic 4, special or EX. This generates 8 Zap Stacks, uses a special, and then the final basic always generates 8, so we can get our upgraded special yet again. Feel free to use movement inputs during your specials to get closer to the enemy, as her combo does shoot her backwards somewhat. Now remember, her movement inputs can add extra attacks in between basics. These generate 3 each, and her basic 3 generates 5. So we can now do another combo for 3 Zap uses in one, splitting it into 3 sections, 1 section per special. Part 1 is basic 1, 2, movement basic or dash attack, special. Then part 2, basic 3, movement basic or dash attack, special. By generating 9 Zap Stacks in the first part, we allow basic 3 to generate its full 5 Zap Stacks. And so, with an extra attack in between that and basic 4, we can now abuse a final Zap special before part 3. And so part 3, we have our basic 4, which as always will guarantee a Zap special. You could do a mix and match of combos with your basics 1 and 2. All you need to remember is to finish with something alongside basic 3 for 8 stacks of Zap, and then basic 4 for another 8 stacks. You can also use your directional inputs to get closer to the enemy to not miss out on Zap charges. So those are your combos. Now I would not recommend spamming your special button. Yes, it applies Anomaly technically, but you miss out on the 130% build-up multiplier. But you also miss out on the decibels and energy provided from your basic string. So not only does it slow down your ultimate generation, also slows down your EX generation, which applies much more Anomaly. Furthermore, this weakens her additional ability. I don't think the rest of her kit is too relevant. Her chain is a lot of Anomaly, but it isn't anything special. Her ultimate is a lot of Anomaly, but in my opinion, you don't want to ult on Grace. If using her as a sub DPS for your Anton, an ult on Anton would rather be used, as you already have plenty of shock application. If using her as a dual DPS with another Anomaly like Piper, I'd rather use a support ult for the large energy generation. But let me know if someone's figured out the optimal ultimate usage for the Anomaly team. Her additional ability finally gives a shock damage percent after hitting an enemy with an EX special, up to 2 stacks. This is a lot of free damage, and so maintaining good EX generation is important. Onto Mindscapes, and we'll go through these quickly. M1 is a bunch of free energy generation. It's nice to have since her combos are very quick. She can dash in, do her combo, get an extra 2 energy for the whole team, and dip out. This is another reason why her full combo is better than special spamming. M2 is some free damage from the electric res reduction, as well as faster Anomaly application from the build-up res reduction. M4 grants her even more energy generation. After an EX, 6 basics or dash attacks can get an extra 1.2 times energy multiplier. Energy generation rate is the better energy stat out of the 2, by the way. So now with our full combo, we can in fact use all stacks in one, as we use 4 basics and 2 movement basics or dash attacks, for 6 uses in total. And finally, her M6 grants an enormous damage buff. You get 1 extra grenade for 1.5 times the amount of Anomaly and damage and decibel generation, as well as doubling the base multiplier value of each grenade. It's an amazing finale. Let's check out Grace's builds now. She is a bit of a weird one, as she has 2 team types, and some sets can look better or worse than they actually are. So let's see. If we look at disk drives, the 2 that we naturally would think are good for her are Thunder Metal and Freedom Blues. Thunder Metal offers a 10% electric damage buff, and then an insanely high 28% combat attack buff when an enemy in combat is shocked. So the first ever shock you do won't be buffed, because Anomaly damage snapshots your stats for each amount of application you do. And if the enemy isn't shocked, your Anomaly application isn't getting that 28% combat attack. This does mean her second shock and any future ones will be monstrously strong. But then comes another problem of how this set works along with Disorder. If you consume the shock with Disorder, bye-bye 28% attack for your next shock, removing the set's value nearly completely. Freedom Blues offers an Anomaly proficiency buff, and then applies a 20% build-up res reduction to the equipper's attribute onto the enemy. This is a 1.2 times multiplicative increase to your Anomaly build-up, and that sounds strong, right? But then, you have to remember that too much application isn't necessarily a good thing, because she already applies a bunch of Anomaly, and applying a second shock very quickly would only override the old one and waste ticks. 2 of the same Anomaly doesn't cause Disorder after all. Furthermore, in Mono Electric, you'd just be giving your Anton and Rena a larger share of electric Anomaly contribution, which is also not ideal. However, in the case that you can abuse the set, say a Disorder team with constant shock consumption, this can be on par with the Thunder Metal set. However, there is a final set we can use, Fanged Metal. The 2-piece is useless on Grace, but the 4-piece on the Piper Grace Disorder team actually works. Grace will apply shock, Piper will consume it and apply Disorder and then Assault. And then Grace will get a 35% damage buff for a lot of her next shock's application, provided you swap back onto her within 12 seconds. Thunder Metal wouldn't work because the Anomaly was consumed, but here, Fanged Metal builds off of the brand new Anomaly that was applied. So here are all the sets calculated, all in their good or bad states, as they are very varying. In Mono Electric, use Thunder Metal, but in Disorder, use Freedom Blues, and in Electric Physical Disorder, you can even try Fanged Metal. For main stats, run Anomaly Proficiency on Disc 4, and Attack Percent is okay too. Run Electric Damage on Disc 5, where 10% can be best if running with Rina, and ideally Grace's signature weapon. Finally, run Attack Percent or Anomaly Mastery on Disc 6. Anomaly Mastery is technically just stronger since it provides a faster Anomaly application, but you get the same problem as before, where you don't necessarily need faster application in a mono team. So in Mono Electric, I would run Attack Percent, but Mastery is viable in 2 Anomaly teams. Onto engines. Her Fusion Compiler is synergistic with her special spamming playstyle. We get Combat Attack on top of stacking Anomaly Proficiency and some Pen Ratio as a main stat. A lot of big damage stats in one. As for Electro Lip Gloss, it's immense when there is an Anomaly applied and works in both team variations. If you're hitting your very first Anomaly though, or one war off, then you get a very weak Wenjin. To play smart and its S-rank tier. Rainforest Gourmet gives an excellent Mega Attack buff for another great option and is completely free to play. And Weeping Gemini works really well in both team variations but can fall off as well. This buff is permanent until the target dies or recovers from stun. So into a boss fight, this can stack up to quite a large amount. I still prefer Rainforest as it's much safer and more consistent. And finishing with teams, we have the super chill Rina Anton Grace team. This is a very burst, quick swappy team that enables long and powerful shocks from Grace to subsequently allow Anton's passive to go ham with massive shock mini detonations. Lots of buffs all around to the whole squad. A stun variation would be replacing Rina for Ambi, trading damage amp for much better days accumulation, so I'm not sure which is best as I don't have the resources to test all these teams just yet. For a Bangbu, I would go with safety here as you don't need the extra Anomaly application from a Bangbu, and so you'd instead opt for higher Bangbu damage, where safety would be higher according to I Win to Lose. But you can't go wrong with Electro or Plugbu if you already got them. There is the Piper Grace Disorder team next. Rina or Lucy or Ambi can be in the 3rd slot. Rina offers the best shock damage and some extra help applying it, Lucy offers the best buffs but doesn't help either Anomaly, and Ambi is just the best for dazing. In this case, I would go Plugbu or Electrobrew for further help with shock application. Some people like running a Fire Disorder composition with Lucy and Khalida, which offers damage amping and daze accumulation, but Khalida nor Lucy have insane Anomaly damage or application themselves, so I don't know how potent this team really is. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed Grace's guide, and if you did, make sure to spread the love with a like, sub, and share. Thanks for watching everyone, and have a Guoba day.